After 5 weeks of campaigning, the UK general election is coming to an end, and not a moment too soon. This campaign could have been something serious. It could have aired big questions that need answering, like how can the National Health Service look after an ageing population? How can one of the Western world's most dysfunctional housing markets be fixed? And above all, how do we eliminate a fiscal deficit that still amounts to £90 billion a year? Instead, what we've had is a mix of fantasy and half measures. The NHS is the #1 issue among voters, even ahead of the economy. And yet the Conservative approach is to spend an extra £8 billion without saying where the money will come from. As for Labour, it can't contemplate any reform of this creaking service without claiming, quite hysterically, that it's tantamount to privatisation. Both parties are fiddling around the edges of the housing market, which needs a drastic increase in supply and therefore a drastic cut in the planning laws. And both parties keep arguing over how to spend money that does not exist. The last time the UK balanced a budget was 2002. It can't afford the kind of extravagant promises that we've seen in recent weeks. The country seems to have entered a post-austerity frame of mind. The problem is that there are years of austerity still to come, whoever wins on Thursday. Now, some aspects of this campaign are worth celebrating. Immigration has been discussed in a reasonable way. That did not seem so likely during most of this Parliament. And some of the televised debates gave party leaders the kind of scrutiny that they escaped in their sterile, overproduced campaign events. But in the round, British public life has been diminished by this campaign, and we don't even have the consolation of blaming the politicians exclusively. They calculate that voters don't really want honesty and plain speaking from their leaders, and this calculation is correct. If David Cameron were to confess that another term as Prime Minister would bring cuts to middle-class welfare, he wouldn't be thanked for it. And if Ed Miliband admitted that a Labour government would raise taxes, and not only on the rich, he would be finished. If politicians only tell us what we want to hear, that is as much our fault as it is theirs. The best that can be said about this campaign is that it made no difference. Labour and the Tories are where they were at the end of March, which is where they have been all year, level pegging. Nothing they have said has been enough to break the stalemate. Now, perhaps something dramatic will happen at the final hour, but one thing is for certain: whoever wins must make sure they govern more responsibly than they have campaigned.